Welcome to the UFC 265 post show brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Johnathan, aka 3PieceCombo, and today I'm joined by the co-host of 5 Rounds on also the 5 Reasons Sports Network, Mr. Frank Zaffere. Did I say that right?
It's Zaffere.
Zaffere.
Did you
Cool,
get? Yeah,
cool.
there you go. It's a made-up name. It's the only name of its kind in existence, so I don't blame you for mispronouncing it.
It's just one of those made-up names, right? So, dude,
That's
what a
right.
card that
That's
we
right.
have. Let's just get right into it, man. Derrick Lewis taking the loss. Ciryl Gane looking phenomenal tonight, getting that win. We saw Jose Aldo look absolute prime condition. Vicente Luque submitting the master of submissions, Michael Chiesa. That was great to see too. Torres getting the win, and then Song Yadong getting the win as well. What were your thoughts overall on the entire card?
Well, it was better than I expected, that's for sure. And cards like this usually are, right? You know, you go into a card like this and you're like, I don't know. We lost Amanda Nunes, and maybe this isn't worth the $70 pay-per-view pay. But it always works out this way. The card that you don't think will impress does impress, except for the main event. I know we're getting to that, but it was a card that delivered all the way until the end, and then apparently only one guy showed up for the main event.
Yeah, main event was a little bit lackluster. I mean, the build was a lot more than actually what happened in the fight. Alex M in the comments saying the Luque fight was crazy. That Luque fight was crazy. But just to your point with the entire card, I think the first 5 fights of the night ended by stoppage. So the first 3 were actually by TKO. Those were the early prelims going into. So for the first fights were stoppages, and then we had a couple of decisions. Main card was filled with stoppages. We had a couple of stoppages, submissions, pretty decent halfway through. But overall, a pretty fun card. Like you said, it's one that underdelivered, but it definitely overperformed overall. I felt like the entire depth of the card was good. But let's get to this main event. Ciryl Gane putting on an absolute clinic against Derrick Lewis, and Derrick Lewis he just looked like he wasn't there, right? Derrick Lewis talked about being nervous earlier during fight week, and it looked like he was nervous during the ring. What was your thoughts on the main event?
Well, exactly what you just said. I mean, on our show Thursday, we had Dean Thomas on, and he talked a lot about the psychology of fighters, and his insights always, just unbelievable. But I thought we saw it on full display in the main event. We saw a guy who was not himself, and for reasons that I think are kind of easy to explain. I don't think he's ever felt the pressure of hometown performance. I don't think he's ever felt the pressure of being expected to take the next step to a real title. And his apprehension and the nerves got him, and he didn't show up. It looked like, Ciryl Gane, and we're going to talk about it, I know. Ciryl Gane is a freak athlete, but he was fighting a punching bag. He was fighting nobody. He wasn't fighting Derrick Lewis. So I don't want to take anything away from Ciryl Gane, because Ciryl Gane has nerves of steel. This guy seems completely unaffected by the moment. But Derrick Lewis was overwhelmed by it, and I think that was the difference in the fight.
And to your point, Ciryl Gane seems more experienced beyond the age of his fights. I mean, he only tonight was his 10th pro fight, and the way he was able to handle the pressure, the way he's able to maneuver the octagon, I mean, the way he's just able to move as a heavyweight, this is just somebody that's absolutely insane. So looking ahead now, I'm not sure how much weight you put on this interim title as far as this goes. Personally, I'm not a big fan, given that the fight could have been made a little bit later. It's not like an injury related kind of thing. But I digress. He is the number 1 contender now, and he is going to be fighting Francis Ngannou. So what are your thoughts, man? Do you think he could beat Francis Ngannou, somebody who's also a heavy hitter, right? He overcame his last challenge and somebody who can wrestle in Stipe. Can he overcome this challenge and somebody who can move like a middleweight in Ciryl Gane?
I'm going to answer this question as a Derrick Lewis apologist, but look, Francis Ngannou will not be overwhelmed by the moment. Francis Ngannou will give us what he can do best. I think if Derrick Lewis had given us what he can do best, I'm not saying the outcome would have been different, but it would have been a hell of a lot more entertaining. You could see in Ciryl Gane's posture in the first round, literally running from Derrick Lewis at times, that he was respecting the power and fearful of what Derrick Lewis might do. But once he realized that Derrick Lewis was frozen by the moment, Ciryl Gane stood right in front of him and did what he wanted to do. He will not be able to get away with that with Francis Ngannou. So, what do I expect? Can I tell you what I hope for? I hope
Absolutely.
it's not. I hope it's not Ciryl Gane. I hope it's John Jones. Look, that's the fight I want to see. Ciryl Gane deserves a shot at the title eventually, but 10 fights in, I want to see John Jones, man. I want to see John Jones, Francis Ngannou. Do I think Ciryl Gane can give Francis Ngannou a fight? Certainly he can. They used to spar together, so they know each other.
That's the thing. Both of these guys are coming out of the same gym. It's kind of like the similar situation with Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns, right? These guys will know each other so much. They also have, similar coaching, so they'll understand how each other is coached, things like that. So I want to get your thoughts. How do you said do you want Ciryl Gane to face John Jones next?
No, I'm sorry. I want Francis Ngannou to face John Jones next.
Gotcha.
I'd like to see that fight as the title fight, and then Ciryl Gane. I mean, I think he can wait, but I don't know how it's going to work out. Ciryl Gane has a baby on the way, I think, or it's imminent, and then I think he wants to take time off, understandably. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out relative to John Jones' availability, the UFC's interest in paying him what he's demanding to take that fight, and then Ciryl Gane's demands for time off for his new infant. So I think that'll tell the tale. And then Stipe Miocic is just sitting on the outside looking in, as the number one contender. If you look at UFC rankings, he doesn't. I don't know what he does right now.
He's really in a tough position because, he won the first fight against Francis Ngannou, and sure, he got knocked out in the second fight, but he's the greatest heavyweight of all time, and he does deserve that extra shot, I believe, as well. And like you said, the wild card here is John Jones because he's training, and we don't know when he's coming back, but it's also a similar situation with Francis Ngannou, right? He's kind of lobbying for fighter pay now. He's trying to get that fighter pay up, and I think that was part of the reason they put this interim title on the line is because they couldn't get to a terms of agreement on how much they were going to pay Francis Ngannou. So I don't know what it is about the heavyweight division, but it feels like it's always stuck. It feels like it's always a little bit behind. There's always more contenders than there actually is. I mean, how long was how long was Francis Ngannou knocking guys out after his first loss to Stipe Miocic before he was able to get that second shot? He had to wait for the trilogy between Stipe and DC to finish out there, but absolutely phenomenal job by Ciryl Gane tonight. And I wanted to get to this next question about the future of the heavyweight division because we have a couple of these guys, that are up and coming right now. We see, like Tom Breeze Tom Aspinall, these guys that are just, athletic and very quick on their feet and they move like a middleweight. Is Ciryl Gane the next kind of breed of heavyweight who just can move a little bit better?
Well, I think he's maybe the next degree in terms of performance advancement from what we started to see happen with fighters like Junior Dos Santos. I mean, you remember the early days of UFC heavyweight division. It was abysmal. And, then we started to slowly see real athletes creep into it. And like Alex Dono and I have talked endlessly about this. I mean, the reason heavyweight divisions in both boxing and mixed martial arts are devoid of the kind of athletes like Ciryl Gane is because, at least in the United States, if you're that big and strong and fast, you're going to play football or basketball or one of those sports. So, Ciryl Gane is like, he's the next evolution of Junior Dos Santos, Cain Velasquez. And, I think that's a great benefit to fans because the heavyweight division for a long time, really tonight, what we saw was kind of the old school versus new school in a way, right? We saw a barroom brawler. He's got the belly, he's got all that going on, versus the true athlete, the guy who you could imagine in a smaller size being a featherweight contender or a welterweight contender. So, it's nice to see that. It's nice to see the athleticism and the complete breadth of mixed martial arts skill that Ciryl Gane brings to it. But at the end of the day, bro, at the heavyweight division, you want to see knockouts. And Francis Ngannou represents that. Derrick Lewis, I thought represented that. He didn't show up tonight. But Francis Ngannou, I think, from a marketing standpoint, is what the UFC wants to be their future.
Absolutely. I mean, he's not just knocking people out. He's separating them from their consciousness. He's putting them into another realm. I
Yeah.
mean, Derrick Lewis got TKO tonight, but he wasn't knocked into next week. He was, just put down and he was landing repeated shots. He was still all there by the end of the fight. What Francis Ngannou does is an absolute, blows what everybody else has done. You know what this fight really reminded me of? I don't know if you remember a long time ago, Tank Abbott, when he faced off against a
Yeah.
young Frank Mir. That's kind of
Yeah.
like what this fight was like, right? Because we had, like you said, the new up and coming guy that's a new breed of what the heavyweight was. That's how Frank Mir was coming in before, obviously, he got injured. And what he did to Tank Abbott just destroyed him, made him tap out, right? Crazy. But Tank Abbott, like you said, that big, had the huge belly, barroom brawler. His fighting style was pit fighting. So, pretty funny times there. But absolute great shot, I mean, in the heavyweight division. But now with 2 losses for Derrick Lewis, right? I mean, he can knock anybody out. He can kind of work his way back up to here. What do you think's next for Derrick Lewis?
I'm not exactly sure where they put him. It's interesting. The heavyweight division, while we're talking about the next evolution, most of the division is filled with the old guard of heavyweight contenders. So, it's a lot like college football. There's like top 3 or 4 and then the rest. I think Derrick Lewis, with his knockout power, is in the top 3 or 4. So I don't know who they match him up against, but I can tell you this. I mean, it's all about making money. Derrick Lewis is usually a fan favorite in terms of what he's likely to do to his opponents. So the UFC will likely pay him a lot of money, and I would guess he would headline or co-main event something big in the not too distant future to get him back on track, because there's not much in the heavyweight division, unfortunately. I mean, once you get past Derrick Lewis, I mean, I've got Ngannou, I've got Gane, I've got Stipe and Derrick Lewis, and then where do you go? I mean, Junior's done. I mean, his chin's gone. I love Junior, nicest guy in MMA, by the way, but he's done. So I don't know where you go after that.
Yeah, he's in a really tough position, and actually, I want to take a look at some of these fighters right now. Obviously, these are unofficial rankings, but Stipe is over there at number 2. You don't put Stipe against him, obviously, but looking down, I mean, he already beat Curtis Blades. Has he fought Jairzinho yet? I don't think he's fought Jairzinho, right?
No.
So maybe you
No, I
throw
don't
that
think
fight
he
together.
has.
If he beats Curtis Blades, you throw Rosenstrike versus Derrick Lewis together.
I guess, but like I said, I mean, I think anybody below that top 4, I mean, I think Derrick Lewis knocks him unconscious.
Right.
Which
Yeah,
is it's big money, but I just think that it's really a division run by the top 4 guys, and Derrick Lewis obviously on the outside looking in right now.
yeah. I mean, it's
I wouldn't
like you
mind.
said.
I mean, why not? Why not? Could they get Stipe to fight Derrick Lewis?
What's in it
Stipe's
for
gonna be waiting a while.
Miocic? What's the benefit for Stipe?
Well, maybe a big payday. I don't know how much he needs money. He's doing firefighting on the side. But, it's a great point. But does Stipe really think he could sit around and wait? And I think that's the argument I would make. I think the UFC is somehow, and Dean Thomas talked about this when he was on Thursday, I think the UFC is determined that something in the numbers tells them that Stipe Miocic is not a draw for them in any way, shape, or form, and they would rather see him go away. So I think the draw for Stipe is to say, hey, I'm not going away. I just beat your knockout machine. Now he's lost 2 in a row. Now you got nothing except me. You got to come to me next. So I think that's the draw for Stipe if they're going to argue that case.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, after taking that loss to the champion, I guess if you go out and you get a win against a top 3 guy, you put yourself undeniable, right? You make yourself absolutely undeniable. You can't be denied for that title shot. But the matchup with John Jones versus Stipe, I think that would be a fun one as well. Any final thoughts on this heavyweight matchup in the main event and the future of it?
Just how disappointed I was that Derrick Lewis was overwhelmed by the moment. And hats off to Ciryl Gane, who is affected by no moment. I mean, he is, I heard, I think it was, I forget which commentator said France is taking over. But I mean, it really feels that way. I mean, in a division which arguably in fighting sports is the most important, which is the heavyweight division for fans, France is taking over.
It's just absolutely beautiful how global this sport is. I mean, I think it's just awesome there. But as far as the main event goes, It sucked, because Derrick Lewis is a fan favorite. Of course, he's a fan favorite of mine. He's hilarious. You want to see the guy win, especially in his hometown. Everyone was rooting for the guy, but he wasn't able to get the job done. And maybe Derrick Lewis isn't a title fighter. Maybe he's just not championship material, and he doesn't really have the skills of one, but he's knocked people out that's been far outskilled than before. So it would have been no surprise if he was able to knock out Ciryl Gane. But like you said, didn't look himself. Hats off to Ciryl Gane. He fought an amazing fight, got the TKO victory, and was able to get the win. And maybe he's next for Francis Ngannou. Maybe he sits out, see Jones versus Ngannou. Not sure what's next in the heavyweight division, but I guess we'll see what there. But co-main event, Jose Aldo came back. I think this is the best I've seen Jose Aldo in the last couple of years. He defeats Munhoz via decision, but man, he looked great in that fight. What were your overall thoughts on that fight?
Well, coming into it earlier this week, I was of the opinion that Jose Aldo had fought a little longer than he should have. I just feel like, over the years, the Brazilian fighters, they fight too much, they train too hard, and that his best days were long behind him. Dean Thomas, I keep referencing him because he's the smartest guy in MMA I know. I mean, he corrected me on that. He said, look, the guy's got 9 lives. He's still, even though he's the godfather of MMA, he still looks fantastic. He's found a new boxing coach or training center. They referenced that in the broadcast tonight. And his speed, his strength, and the way he looks at that weight class, I mean, he's phenomenal. I mean, it reminded me of Jose Aldo, and I can't believe I'm saying this, 8 or 9 years ago. I mean, that's how long this guy's been doing this. So it was unbelievable. It was impressive. I picked him because of Dean's coaching, coaching me, I should say, and not him. But yeah, unbelievable performance, and it doesn't look like he's lost a step.
I mean, whatever he's done to get himself down to this weight class, he looks so much better now, right? His nutrition is right. He's able to make the cut a lot easier. The first time he made the cut, I don't know. I wasn't sure how long he was going to be able to do it, how much taxing or how taxing it was going to be on his body. But it seems like that discipline is there now. They talked about him having a burger shop down there in Brazil. Maybe he's laying off the burgers now. But he looks good, man. And like you said, he just looked phenomenal tonight. The hand speed was there. We didn't see the leg kicks as much, but what we did see was the body work. Jose Aldo was going to the body repeatedly. And on top of that, he was checking the leg kicks, which is a heavy weapon of Munhoz. And he looked phenomenal tonight. And I mean, he's ranked number 5 going in. And now he put himself in a position to maybe he's one more fight away before fighting for a 135-pound belt. So I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you think he can get himself into the title picture at 135?
Absolutely. Now, I mean, absolutely. After what I've seen now, I couldn't imagine a scenario not playing out that way. He looks fantastic, and he's done something that as you just referenced, a lot of people didn't think he could do, which moving down a weight class, a lot of people said that wasn't going to work out, but with the lifestyle changes, what he's enabled himself to do is give himself a real advantage, not unlike the advantage that Conor McGregor had at featherweight. He looked significantly, to me, he looked significantly bigger and longer than his opponent. If he can fight that way and have that kind of size and strength advantage and speed, by the way, because he hasn't lost a bit of that, the sky's the limit for him, I think, in that division.
I want to get Alex's not question, but kind of comment here. Peter Yan owns that division. Peter Yan destroyed Jose Aldo the first time. Now, he has that shot against Aljamain Sterling, which, in my opinion, I think he's going to get that win. If Aldo was able to get back to the title shot, do you think he could beat Peter Yan this time around?
With the kind of patience he was showing, the way he was managing his explosiveness and his cardiovascular reserve tank, I think he could. I mean, it's really hard to say that Jose Aldo wouldn't have a shot at redemption after everything he's accomplished and looking at the discipline he's exerting to make this weight class work for him. Very hard for me to tell anyone that he wouldn't have a shot. And after tonight, obviously I'm riding the high of his performance, but after tonight, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's hard to not deny him at this point. And I want to take a quick look at these bantamweight rankings. And these are unofficial, but they're pretty close to what they are. And the reason I use this one is because it shows you the last couple of fights. So I don't know if you can see that on your screen. But obviously TJ Dillashaw, he won against Sandhagen. He's probably next for the champion, although he was saying maybe taking a fight before that. Now, do you put Aldo against Sandhagen? Would that be the next fight for him? If he doesn't fight for the belt next, have him fight Sandhagen.
I'd rather see him fight TJ.
How do you think that matchup will work out?
I think it would work out great for Jose Aldo. Again, going on the theme I was just talking about, he's going to walk into that fight. He looks fast as hell, and which is what TJ's hallmark. But he's going to walk into that fight with a significant size and length advantage. It's going to be him exerting his physical presence in this division against an opponent that, if he defeats him and defeats him soundly, puts him right back in the title fight, I think.
And I think for TJ Dillashaw, if there's one fight that I want to see, my boy Xavier Pinksikoski saying, let me say Pedro is no Peter, my guys. That's true. Alex saying Peter cleans Aldo again. Man, these guys are Peter Yan is undeniable, though, man. This man has cement for hands. But I think it would definitely be a closer fight the second time around. I think that's maybe the fight that TJ would take, though, if TJ doesn't, fight for the title next. You're fighting the former greatest of all time in the featherweight division. Maybe he's still there, depending on how you feel, Max Holloway. But that might be an attractive fight for him. That can be a co-main event to a pay-per-view card, or maybe even headline a fight night. I think that would be a fun fight for TJ. But what do you think is next for Munhoz? Because he was ranked number 7 coming in. This was kind of his prove-it fight. Do you think he has the skills to develop to move up? Because he did knock out Cody Garbrandt, right, who was a former champion of the division. Do you think he still has that ability to work himself back up to being a contender, or do you think we've seen his limit?
Well, I think we've seen his limit. I think he can work himself up to being a contender, but I don't think he's at the level of the people that we're talking about. So yeah, I think he can work himself back up into the top 10. I'm imagining he might drop out. I don't know. Because so much of the politics of UFC matchmaking goes into how these rankings end up shaking out. So I don't know where he ends up, but if he does drop out of the top 10, I could absolutely see him working himself back into a 8, 7, 6 position. But I don't think he's a legit title challenger now.
Yeah, I think we've seen the best that he's can do. And I think that performance against Garbrandt showed what he can, the best that he can do. And, his fight against Aldo tonight showed what his ceiling is. He put up a good fight. Don't get me wrong. He didn't get washed there, right? But as the fight went on and as Aldo kept making his reads, he just got good, man. At the beginning of that third round, when he threw that, 5 or 6 piece combination, fast, laser fast, and I think that was the fastest combination I've seen him throw in a long time. Any final thoughts on this fight at 135?
Yeah, the one thing I didn't want to leave out was that, coming into this fight, I thought Jose Aldo was lucky that it wasn't a 5-round fight. Now I think if it had gone 5 rounds, he would have knocked him out. So hats off to Jose Aldo for the way he's made this cut, the way his body is adjusting, and the way his cardio looked. I mean, yeah, I think round 4 or 5, that would have been good night for him. Yeah, I think Aldo would have finished him.
I think he probably would have finished him with a body shot too, because the way he was just, those body shots were mean. He was killing his body. And once he was getting him to drop his hands from going to the body, he would go into the head. It's such a veteran move, right? And he does this thing, I think Dominic Cruz talked about it, right? He does this no-look pass, like the no-look pass, what the NBA player does. He does a no-look hit, right? He'll look somewhere else other than where he's hitting, and he makes the opponent, get confused. Aldo looked great tonight, man. And I'm excited to see what the future of that division holds. And the 135-pound division, man, that's such a fun division. I think there were 4 fights or 5 fights tonight from 135, and all of them were great. All of them were absolutely great. They were phenomenal fights. The next fight was I think my favorite of the night. Luque is one of my favorite fighters, though. But what a fight. Vicente Luque defeating Michael Chiesa via submission. I think it was an anaconda choke or a Darce. Can't remember exactly which one he got with it. But Chiesa was able to get the takedown. He was able to get his back, almost got the rear naked choke. Luque flipped in, able to get his guard. And, as Chiesa was getting up, he left his head forward. And that's the spot where Vicente Luque loves to wrap up that choke. And he got that choke. And Man, I was running around my house because I was very excited about that one. But what were your thoughts on Luque getting submitting Michael Chiesa? Because that was crazy. It was a Darce choke. Both of them saying it's a Darce choke. So yeah, it was a Darce choke.
Well, I mean, look, first of all, I want to agree with you. I've interviewed him a couple times. He's an incredibly likable guy and really hard not to be a huge fan of. So I was happy for him at that level. But look, I said on a Twitter post that probably nobody saw because I have no followers, but I said on a Twitter post, he's going to win because of toughness and violence. He's unbelievably tough. And as a nice guy, when you talk to him, the violence that he can bring is really scary. The toughness was on full display tonight. Chiesa had a solid rear naked choke, in my opinion, initially, which Vicente was able to knock out. Then when he rolled over, he had basically a neck crank, which for those who haven't been in a neck crank can be a lot more painful than the rear naked choke. It might not put you to sleep, but it causes so much pain that I've seen people tap a number of times from that. And, he wasn't going to quit. He wasn't going to give up. He rolled into him. He changed positions, and then he locked in. Well, first, what looked like he was setting up a guillotine choke, and then rolled it into a Darce choke. Then at that point, then it was all his fight. And Chiesa did not have the toughness, right? As soon as that was locked in, he's quitting. And you know what I couldn't understand about that? Look, I get it. I know how scary it is to get choked unconscious. But this fight, man, was to challenge, potentially, be next in line to go after Kamaru Usman. Go unconscious in that effort. You just had a guy dead to rights. Suddenly he's got you. I don't know why Chiesa quit so quickly. It really upset me. But look, Vicente, he's so tough, man. I was so impressed with him, and he's such a likable guy. He's a blue-collar guy. He's a lunch pail guy. He comes to work. He doesn't have gifted athletic ability. He just has a hard head and a big heart, and he's not afraid to go after you.
I mean, what an absolute phenomenal fighter this man is. And like you said, his toughness, he's never been finished before. And he showed that toughness because he like you said, he could have tapped. He could have tapped to that neck crank because that neck crank was deep. And then he almost got that rear naked choke in, but he was able to fight and not just give in. He could have even just stayed and shelled up like Derrick Lewis did and just let, Chiesa just rain down shots on top of him, but he didn't do that. He fought through it, and he was able to get the submissions. I want to get into some of these comments real quick. Xavier saying hell of a submission. That's a choke that would really bother these Dagestan beasts. Curious. I never thought about that, but I was really curious about that. My boy Chris saying I was surprised Mike exposed his neck like that. I was too, but I think when you're that skilled at submission, sometimes you overestimate yourself and you leave yourself open to little things. You don't cross all your T's and dot all your I's. Alex, I'm saying ring rust. I know why he couldn't breathe. Maybe that's why he tapped, right? I guess so. You can't go wrong with not breathing. But like you said, I don't know if you watch pro wrestling, but when a guy taps out, it makes him look weaker, right? You just have the guy go to sleep, makes him look stronger. And like you said, this was potentially for the next championship because Usman's been calling out Chiesa. And now Vicente Luque comes and he takes the shot, right? He gets the win here. Obviously, Usman is fighting Covington next. Leon Edwards is kind of in no man's land as well. Gilbert Burns is back there, but somebody who he hasn't fought yet is Vicente Luque. And Luque presents a different challenge as well because what we've seen what he's done tonight against Chiesa, what we saw against him do against Woodley, that Darce choke, his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills are legitimate. He's great on the ground, and I'm not sure if Usman is going to do what he did with Gilbert Burns and be forced to strike with him because he knows how dangerous he is on the ground. That being said, the striking of Vicente Luque is better than Gilbert Burns, in my opinion. How do you think they would match up if Luque got the next shot against Kamaru Usman?
Well, I think it would be a hell of an exciting fight because Vicente Luque is not afraid. He also can take a lot of punishment. So he's going to be able to weather a lot of Kamaru Usman's offense. However, Kamaru Usman's wrestling is next level good. So I'm imagining that if he follows a tight game plan, it's going to be take Vicente down and then avoid Vicente's offense off his back. I feel like this fight would probably go with Kamaru Usman winning a really boring kind of George St. Pierre-esque fight, holding a guy down, maybe 15 takedowns in the fight. However, as we saw against Colby Covington and George Masvidal, where it really worked out for him, Kamaru Usman can be baited into a striking contest, and I don't think that's his best way of winning fights. Masvidal fight notwithstanding, and Colby as he broke his jaw, but he was losing on all 3 cards going into that 5th round against Colby Covington. So, Kamaru could be baited into a striking contest, and I was really impressed with Luque's striking against Chiesa. Chiesa came out deciding to strike and changed his mind very quickly.
Yeah. Once he tasted the power from Luque, he was like, all right, never mind. I'm going to go for these hips.
But I tell you what, man, I've met Kamaru Usman a couple of times. He's a really big welterweight, and his wrestling is next level. The strength and the size that he has is unbelievable. I have said on our show, I think he might make us all forget about George St. Pierre when the day is done. But I would like to see a fresh contender, right? I would like to see a fresh contender. He's going to fight Colby again. He's probably going to fight Gilbert Burns again. I would really love to see somebody like Luque get a shot.
Absolutely. My boy Chris saying Leon versus Luque would be a hell of a fight. I think they fought a long time ago, right?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah,
if they fought a minute ago, I think Leon got the win there. It was a unanimous decision, but I do believe they fought a little bit ago. But he's also saying the jab from Usman is piston. The striking of Usman has got a lot better, and I think that's what to your point. Now he can be baited into striking a little bit more, right? So maybe that's something that can be played into Vicente Luque's strengths. But I think it would be really hard. Alex saying, I think Colby is going to try to wrestle Usman. Quick thoughts on that. You don't think he's going to try to wrestle him?
No, I mean, I think it's going to be a replay of what we saw the last time. I mean, not to get too inside baseball, but one of the things that Colby does really well is that Dan Lambert kind of, theory that has proven to be pretty effective, which is you get these wrestlers, right? The right leg lead guys, right? Because that's how you are when you wrestle. But, they try to switch them so that the power hand is set up correctly for a traditional stance. And they decided to experiment differently with fighters like Colby. And they said, all right, look, the power hand's not effective, but oh my God, the jab is all day, and you've got the wrestling threat all day. So I think Colby's really comfortable in a rematch with Kamaru Usman working the same game plan. I mean, let's not forget, he was winning. He was winning the fight on all 3 judges' scorecards. And I think their wrestling kind of negates each other, because I think Kamaru's thinking, I don't want to burn a lot of energy trying to take a guy down I can't take down. And he's going to remember breaking Colby's jaw. So he's going to think, look, I like my chances standing up because I'm a bigger guy than him. Colby walks around not 5 pounds heavier than the limit, So Kamaru's a much bigger guy. So I think he's going to go in thinking, look, my striking is going to end up wearing Colby down. Colby's going to go in thinking, look, I was winning the fight working this deal. So I think we're going to say the same thing. We're going to see a 5-round slugfest, Colby working a jab, Kamaru hitting him with power, and we'll see how it plays out.
I think with the development of Usman's striking, I think we see an ending a little bit sooner. I do like to see. I do think we get an ending a little bit sooner. Man, the striking of Usman has just developed to another level. I mean, he knocked out Masvidal, knocked out Gilbert Burns. He's knocking these people out now, right?
Yeah, but I hate to tell you, but I would just tell you, Masvidal came in not respecting Usman striking. So I think he got caught because he got cocky about that dimension of Usman's game. Because the first time they fought, Usman just held him down. So I think credit to Usman, he caught him. And, Gilbert Burns, I think, exposed something early in that fight where it was like, hey, you can knock Kamaru Usman out if you catch him correctly. Unfortunately for Colby, he's power hand lead with the jab. So, you're not going to see Kamaru Usman get knocked out by Colby, only outpointed. So.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Any final thoughts on this fight and with Sensei Luque and Michael Chiesa?
Just that I am a huge fan of Vicente Luque. He's impossible not to love. I mean, the guy is just all heart. He's a hardworking guy who is not trading on athleticism. He's trading on literally guts and hard work. So I don't think he can win the title, but I do think that his career has been inspirational, and his win tonight was sensational. So I'm excited for him. I'm going to enjoy it and look forward to his eventual title contention.
I think he can be one of those guys that's a perennial contender, right? Maybe like you said, he doesn't win a title, but I think he could be top 5 for a long time. I want to actually look up how old is he? Is he 29 or 30?
I think he's 30, but
He's 29.
All right.
He's 29. He's already top 3. Like, that's crazy. He's going to be at the top of the division for a good minute. And, he, like you said, his toughness is there. He hasn't been finished. Leon Masvidal versus Masvidal 3-piece combo again. Masvidal had an Anderson Silva moment, absolutely, where he, left himself open like what he did against Chris Weidman. That's a good point there. But, man, one of the fights that made me fall in love with UFC and mixed martial arts overall was Vicente Luque versus Mike Perry. Like, that was just one of the most violent fights. He busted open his nose, and then he got him in a choke, and that squeezing it out everywhere. It was great. Violence everywhere. So all love for Vicente Luque, man. If he does, end up getting the next shot, or like what Alex says, if he's a replacement fighter, maybe that's something you could do yourself. Put yourself in good faith with the boss, right? That's what Michael Chandler did. If you get yourself in good faith, at least you can maybe potentially line yourself up for the fight for the future. I would love to see him win, man. Don't know if he gets it done. I do think it's highly unlikely, but I think the skills are there. I think he has the talent to do it. Chris saying Perry's nose making a left turn that fight. After that happened, I mean, his wife left him after that, and then he got that new girl pregnant, and then he left after that. Mike Perry's has been on a downturn.
He's a disaster, man. But he's tough as hell and
dude,
very entertaining.
I love Mike Perry, man. I don't care about everything else. I just still love Mike Perry. He's one tough still one tough guy. Tisha Torres getting a win against Angela Hill. She looked really good in this fight. Really good in this fight. What were your thoughts on this fight overall?
Yeah, I mean, she outclassed her opponent, in my opinion, not just in the fighting, but also in the physique. Like, holy cow, man. God. She is ripped. I mean, holy cow. I didn't know a female body could get that muscular. So she looked phenomenal. She fought phenomenally. She's not top 2 or 3, but, she fights somebody like that, she's going to smoke them. And that's kind of the position she's in right now.
She set herself up to be, up there now fighting up, maybe potentially contender, not right yet, because obviously Rose is a champion right now. Maybe you see the Weili Zhang fight against her again, but I think maybe you throw her against Claudia Gadelha. She's just coming off a loss against Yan Xiaonan, so maybe you can do that against her. But she looks good, man. I think she looks really good. Like you said, her physique was absolutely incredible. Tough loss for Angela Hill. She has championship aspirations, but doesn't seem like she's going to be able to get there. Chris saying Hill looks slow as hell, didn't belong in the same ring. She did, man. Did you feel like Angela Hill just looked like she was missing a step tonight? Because I felt like her fight against Waterston, she looked really good, and now tonight she was just really off. Did you feel the same way?
Well, I think there's this issue in, women's MMA has come galactically farther ahead than it used to be. And we had argued on our show earlier this week that, Amanda Nunes, if you combine the pound for pound fighter rankings between men and women, if you had them both on the list, I argued that you might have Amanda Nunes number 1 globally. So that's how far women's MMA has come. But there's still almost like a Central American economy dynamic where you have the haves and then the have-nots. You don't have a middle class, which you have in men's MMA. So I think for the women, you have her, and then you have the drop off, and the drop off is huge. Yeah, unfortunately, it's catching up, but the drop off is really dramatic. So I think that's what everyone's seeing. So you try to bring somebody up for a fight like that, and it just they're outclassed every time.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, she's not. I don't think she has the ability to be fight for the championship anymore. I think that's we've seen the best that she can do. I think we've seen her ceiling as well. I think Torres maybe can work herself up. I think it's a pretty tough division, but you line up 2 wins in a row and you're fighting for the title. She's a new name, that can be up there as well. Any final thoughts on this fight before we move on to the opener?
No, I mean it was what I expected in a landslide. So no other thoughts there.
Nice. Now let's get to this fight, Song Yadong. And, Dean Thomas was on the broadcast, and he was unable to hold himself back from laughing once he said Yadong. I thought that was great. Youngest fighter on the card, only 23 years old, and he defeats Kenney via unanimous decision. Uh, was it this fight? No, it was the Bobby Green fight, which was a really weird scorecard here. But he was able to get the win via unanimous decision, and he looked really good, man. He looks fast. This guy just looks sharp. Past his years, just for being 23 years old. What were your thoughts on this fight?
Well, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to start laughing like Dean. But what really impressed me with him is his age, because mixed martial arts is a sport, unlike the other sports, professional sports, where you really need to get closer to 30 before you really got the whole thing figured out, because you have to learn so many disciplines, so many different sports to bring your game to mixed martial arts. So at 23, to have that composure and that kind of well-rounded performance was really impressive, and also I think a little taste of what the future of mixed martial arts can bring to us, where we see younger and younger fighters that prepared and that good.
I mean, the next generation of fighters is kind of growing up in front of our eyes, right? We're starting to see these guys leak in. I mean, we saw AJ McKee, he broke through last week. We're seeing guys like, Song Yadong and Chris saying he's training at Team Alpha or Team Alpha Male. That's offering. He is good at getting great coaching and training. He's getting great coaching and training there. Indeed, man. That's a great team to work up there. And he has the athletic ability, and that man's speed is off the charts, man. When he throws combinations, this dude is throwing with absolute speed. At only 23 years old, I want to take a look at the rankings. He's fighting at, what is that? It's bantamweight, right? So he just beat Kenney, who's ranked roughly 19. I'm going to throw this up on the screen so everybody who's watching can just follow along with me. So we have him ranked at 19. Song Yadong was at 18. He did lose to Kyler Phillips. Who do you throw him against next? Do you throw Song Yadong against maybe Sean O'Malley? No, Sean O'Malley needs a higher guy than that.
Yeah.
Maybe Jimmy Rivera.
That would be fun, and that would be a lot of fun, actually. I like that matchup. Rivera is a very hard hitter, so it'd be fun to see him deal with Jimmy Rivera.
And he's really
How about
tough
Dominic
too.
Cruz?
Yeah,
Dominic
right?
Cruz. Look, he's a brilliant broadcaster, but he's obviously still an active fighter. I'm not sure how long that's going to go on, but as long as he is an active fighter, isn't he basically a gatekeeper now at the highest level? So,
Yeah.
I'd like to see his role in that regard. I'd like to see him start taking fights that way, if he's going to stay active. If I were him, I wouldn't get punched in the face anymore, and I'd keep doing that cage side stuff because he's pretty damn good at it.
Dude, I love Joe Rogan, and don't get me wrong, when I'm watching a fight, it's fun to have Joe Rogan there. He brings good commentary, but Dominic Cruz can break down a fight to where anyone who's just a casual watcher can understand what's going on and can understand, what steps need to be taken in the fight and what they should be doing and what advice they should be giving their corners and stuff like that. That man is built for the broadcast booth, and I love what he does on the sidelines. But yeah, man, you could throw him against a couple of guys. I mean, with the thing with this 135-pound division, there is no bad matchups. And there is absolutely no bad matchups here at all. These guys are coming in fresh, and we just saw with this fight, they were nonstop. The cardio isn't an issue anymore. These guys at 135, they move so much. And I mean, we saw 5 135-pound fights tonight, and then we saw the heavyweight. And I think that was a mistake on the UFC. They should not have given us that many low weight fighters with that much cardio and then throw a heavyweight guy who we know is going to throw maybe 2 strikes every round. So small slip up on the UFC there. But Song Yadong, man, looking great tonight, defeating Kenney, who was looking to rise up in the division. Had that split decision loss against Dominic Cruz. Not Greg Hardy. What's his name? First, I'm missing it. Dan Hardy. He was a great commentary too. That man breaks down fights as well. His full reptile stuff on his channel is great. The way he breaks down fights is phenomenal. Any final thoughts on Song Yadong defeating Kenney?
No, I mean, like I said, just really impressive at his age. I'm excited for his future potential, and it's a great camp he's with. And it was nice to see Uriah Faber without the cornrows. He had the normal hair tonight. So, yeah, I'm excited for him. It was a great way to lead off the card. And to your point about having the heavyweight following all those lightweight fights, it's one of the most frustrating parts of our sport for the casual fan that we're trying to pull in. The bantamweight guys, the featherweight guys, they're the ones that really exemplify the brilliance of the sport in terms of all the different things that can happen and all the different skill sets that you put to use. The cardio, where it's as full of action late in the fight as it is early in the fight. But the casual fan, they just want to see the big guys. They want to see the guy that, oh my God, if I saw that guy in the street, I'd run the other way.
Yeah.
They should run the other way if they see one of these bantamweights. But, that's the way they feel and that's the way they think. And that's why boxing heavyweight has always been the thing. And so, it's frustrating because, they all tuned in to watch Derrick Lewis plod around and eventually quit. But the fights earlier, as you referenced, those were the fights to watch.
I mean, I'll tell you something. If I saw Jose Aldo and that man was after me, the first thing I'm doing is running the opposite way.
Throw a soccer ball at him. That's his good sport, Yeah.
There you go. I mean, you see anybody with cauliflower ear, you know not to mess with that person at all. You're like, all right, that's not somebody I'm gonna mess with. Any final thoughts on this main card overall, man? I thought it was a pretty fun one. Chris saying the Mike Tyson effect. I agree, man. Everybody just wants to see that one punch knockout. That's what everybody kind of wants to see. And but like you said, it does not personify what MMA is, man. You watch somebody that can put it together. Alex M saying, imagine getting in a fist fight with Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno would tear. I mean, he could probably tear up most normal people that are actual heavyweights. Like, somebody that's 250 pounds. Granted, they're probably, fat as shit if they're 250 pounds, and if they're like normal height, it depends on their weight, obviously. But Brandon Moreno would tear those guys up, and it's crazy because he's fighting at 125 pounds. But overall, fun fight, man. What were your thoughts on the main card overall?
I was pleasantly surprised, and also feeling the same way I felt earlier this week that, I wish the UFC, and I understand why they won't right now with their ESPN partnership, but I wish they would do fewer cards, because the card we had last week, if you had mashed that together with this one, you had an epic card. You had a card that everyone would have been talking about, and it just would have been phenomenal. And, so I just wish they weren't watering it down the way they are, because I know – the UFC, or I should say ESPN, since they actually footed the bill, they fronted the bill on the pay-per-views. But I know ESPN missed out on pay-per-views because of this, And I think I wish they do just I don't know, 30% fewer cards and just put a few of them together for all of us, because I think it would help with the casual fans too. Because, the casual fan might come in for TJ Dillashaw and then they see some of these other fights we're talking about. I mean, a lot of casual fans, they don't know who Vicente Luque is. They don't know who Michael Chiesa is. They don't know who some of these guys are. So they see those fights, and then, then we build momentum.
I think you go 2 a month, you're good, right? You go 2 a month. You have a fight night.
I'm old, man. I remember when they did 7 a year.
Yeah. I mean, when I was watching, when I was going through and watching all the old UFCs, it's like you started at, 1999 or, 1994, I think it started, I believe. But you watched it, it was like, okay, 3 events a year. All right, 6 events a year, 10 events a year, 12 events a year. All right, 55. Now it's like 65. You know what I mean? Right. We basically have one every week. And don't get me wrong, I love getting to watch fights no matter who's fighting. But as far as, like you said, bringing in more of the casual fans and stacking up these cards, imagine if you had, the heavyweight that, this fight that it was. Obviously, we did lose out on the Nunes versus Pena fight. But if you had TJ Dillashaw on this card versus Sandhagen, then you have Jose Aldo here, and then you have, Vicente Luque as the card opener, right? And then now the prelims that are on ESPN2 are stacked, right? You have Song Yadong as the feature prelim. We had a great prelim tonight, which I want to talk about, 1 or 2 of them real quick with, Fiziev and Green. But now you can stack them a lot more. You know what I mean? I agree. I see your point there. But like I said, as a diehard, I do like watching fights every weekend. It's kind of my thing to do, right? My Saturday nights, I like to enjoy my fights. But let's get to this prelim, because we did have we had a couple of good prelims fight, but this I think was fight of the night. And I don't know, did you get to watch this one, the feature prelim, the Bobby Green versus Fiziev?
I did, yes.
What were your thoughts on this fight, man? Because I thought this was phenomenal. I thought this was fight of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a way. And you know what? I didn't expect it. I think that was the part about it that I enjoyed the most because, going in, I checked out the prelim schedule and I thought, usually they'll put a big name or a casual fan name into the prelim main event leading in to get the clicks. And so this was it might have been actually the best fight of the night. I'm going to agree with you. I think it might have been the best fight of the card.
I'm right with you there. That was that third round was phenomenal, and the way that they weren't just fighting. There was a little bit of showmanship in between these guys. These guys were going back and forth at it. They weren't just punching each other. They were talking to each other in between. I think Fiziev threw like a spinning kick and he missed. And, they give him a little knuckle touch. He's like, all right, nice try. You know what I mean? Not too bad. You're still there, but it was good. And Bobby Green didn't go away, right? He was slipping and rolling. And the way that he fights with his hands down is just so, it's like almost Nate Diaz-esque, right? It almost kind of reminds you of that style where he's slipping, he's taking some damage, but he's not going away. He's still going to hit you. Bobby Green is fun to watch, man. Bobby Green is one of the most fun fighters to watch as well. He loved that Bruce Buffer intro, man. He gets really into it when Bruce Buffer is saying his name.
Not as much as Michael Chiesa, though.
Oh my God. I mean, if I want Bruce Buffer to announce my wedding, I mean, that guy is going to get me more hyped than anything. If you imagine walking down the aisle and you have Bruce Buffer announcing your name, I don't think there would be a greater, you would not be more hyped to go down that aisle than if Bruce Buffer was talking your name. But
well, I don't think your bride's gonna dig that, but
yeah, probably not. You can have it one way, right? You can just have one of the names that announced. But Fiziev, man, he's looking good. Any final thoughts on this card and any of the other prelims that you want to take a look at?
No, I mean, like I said, it was really, really entertaining from top to bottom. I started at 7 p.m. So I probably missed a couple. I think it started a little bit earlier than that, but every fight I watched was entertaining. And it's, as I said at the top of your show, it's cards like this that always surprise me, So I came in kind of with low expectations until I got to the top 2 or 3 fights of the pay-per-view. And it actually turned out to be much more entertaining leading up to that, which is very, very pleasurable when you spent $70.
Yeah, right. You definitely want to get more out of your money when you spend it.
Yeah.
Francis versus Gane thoughts. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but give us your thoughts, man, on Francis versus Gane. If it does happen one more time, just real quick, who do you think wins it, and how do you think that fights go down?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Ngannou when that fight happens, and people are high on. I'm gonna pick Ngannou. I'm sorry, people are high on Gane's performance right now, and justifiably so. But they need to remember that something was wrong with Derrick Lewis mentally in that fight. I'm not saying he would have won, but we did not see Derrick Lewis. We will see Francis Ngannou. He will not show up. So Ciryl Gane is in for a real test when he faces Francis Ngannou, but. I'm going to reiterate, I hope that's not the next fight we're going to see. I hope the next fight we're going to see Francis Ngannou in is with Johnny Bones Jones.
Yeah, man. That's the money fight. That's the real money fight. I mean, who said that? Nate Diaz said it, right? That's the real money fight. You know who it is. But yeah, man, I think that would be a great fight. I think Francis gets that done. Like you said, he's not a waiter like Derrick Lewis, right? He'll go out there. He has like 5 knockouts within the first minute and a half. Of the fight. So he'll go out there and he'll put the pressure on Ciryl Gane. He won't sit around. He won't be a sitting duck like what Derrick Lewis was tonight. So, yeah, man, I'm there with you on that one. Quick, just rundown for the rest of the card. Vince Morales versus Draco Rodriguez, regular fight. That was a decision. Alonzo Menafield versus Ed Herman. Ed Herman was eating a lot of those shots, man. He was eating it, and he kept going. And he went to the decision, man. And even Alonzo Menafield was even talking about post-fight. He was like, hey, man, I thought I was going to knock his old ass out, but he lasted towards the end of the decision. Thoughts on that fight?
I don't know how they got Herman's bolts out of his neck before that fight. He looked like Frankenstein out there. I mean, it was unbelievable how tough he is and how outclassed he was. I can't believe there was talk that he might wear him down and actually – get the jump on him. I mean, it was like a joke. I mean, they didn't look like they should be in the same octagon together. But kudos to Herman for the toughness. Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, all props to Ed Herman for getting punched in the face a lot and not getting knocked out. So.
And the calf. Did you see the calf? When was the last time you saw a doctor called in to examine a calf? I mean, that actually happened.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen that. With all the calf kicks nowadays, though, I don't see that stopping anytime soon. I think that's gonna be something we see more often. These calf kicks are a new age weapon, man. They're doing it, but they're also causing damage to yourself too. We've seen it go wrong for some fighters, so very interesting there. Karolina Kowalkowski taking a loss to Jessica Penn via submission. She's getting the armbar. Manel Kape, dude, did you get to see that flying knee?
Well, wait, I want to talk about that armbar. Like, can your elbow bend that much? Because the
Oh,
time she waited to tap scared the crap out of me. I've never seen anything like that. Michael Chiesa should train with her because she's got a hell of a lot more guts than he does. She let her arm go in a way that I don't think is possible for a human arm to go before she decided, you know what? I'm not going to let her leave with my arm. In fact, I think if you watch it back, I think the ref stepped in before she tapped. I
that's
think
what
the
I
ref
thought.
had seen enough. Yeah. She's tough as hell, man. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I thought she didn't tap. I don't think she tapped. When I first was watching, I didn't get to watch a replay, obviously, but when I was watching it back, I didn't see her tap. I just saw the ref stop it. I just thought the ref was like, all right, I can't let this lady's arm just get mangled,
Oh
you
my
know. But
God.
I
It's gonna be
mean,
bad for ratings. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, right. We've already saw one breakage earlier, but great
Do you think
toughness there. Like you mentioned.
ESPN ESPN hits a button like that's too gruesome? Stop the fight. Do you think they hit a button?
Maybe I don't think so. We've seen some crazy things. If it didn't
Yeah.
happen with all the other breakages, I don't think it's gonna happen now, right? I think we've already seen the worst of the worst there. Um, Manel Kape with a flying knee knockout against Ode Osborne. Did you get to see that one?
Stop too early.
I
Stop too
thought so
early.
too.
He caught him with the flying knee. 100% he caught him, but that guy wasn't out. That guy was still fighting. So that was very frustrating for me. And look, the position of a ref is so difficult. So everyone that gets mad at him, I mean, it's hard, man, because their job in there in as much as to call the fight, or to choreograph the fight in terms of preventing fouls is to protect the fighter. And that the way that knee looked, I could understand where the ref would freak out, but just wait a second. Just see how the fighter reacts when he hits the ground. Way too early in a stoppage there, in my opinion.
It looked like he was about to pull guard, right? He was able to get
Mm-hmm.
himself back, and I think he was going to be able to
Mm-hmm.
pull guard. And as well, maybe you understand at welterweight or at heavyweight when you land a shot like that, that's it. These guys were flyweights. They're not
Mm-hmm.
these heavyweight guys. The punches that they're going to land, it's the damage is minimal as far as how much damage they can deliver. I thought you should have let him go go a little bit further. I don't think he was fully
Yeah.
out. I thought this, fight could have kept going as well. I'm not a fan of the stoppage. It was a good flying knee. Don't get me wrong. It landed, like you said, it landed on the button. Not a good stoppage. But Cobb saved his job potentially because, starting his career really bad after being a top prospect coming in. He weighed in as the backup in the first Moreno versus Figueiredo fight. But that was great. Dana White just asked what the punch stats were in Ciryl Gane versus Derrick Lewis and was told 104-8.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I thought it might be worse.
I remember, I'm not sure if it was the second round or third round where I looked there. They showed the stat sheets and it was like 24, body shots and 10 leg strikes and, 6 head strikes for Ciryl Gane. And it was 1 head strike, 1 body strike, 1 leg strike for Derrick Lewis. He just had 3 strikes on the board. I don't think he got a significant strike off in the first round until like the last minute, which was absolutely nuts there. But pathetic showing from Derrick Lewis. He's human. At the end of the day, he's human. You're in your hometown. You're in front of people that that care about you, and it's a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we're all human. He would take any of our head off if we went up and we said anything to him, anyways. So unfortunate for him. He's a fan favorite, but you know, maybe we see him get some wins and go on in the future. Miles Johns with a beautiful knockout against Anderson Dos Santos. Were you able to catch that one as well?
I did, yes.
Nice.
I think that was the first fight I saw. Yeah, that was the
Okay.
first fight I saw.
Yeah. So that one was great. I mean, Dos Santos, took some heavy leg damage as well. He was eating those leg kicks. He was after the first round. I think he told his corner that his leg was, absolute shit. He couldn't move there, but he limped around. And, there was a moment in his fight where he put his hands behind his back. And I was like, if this guy gets knocked out, this is going to be a meme. And he got knocked out.
Yeah.
and it's a meme. So don't put your hands behind your back. If your legs already compromised and you know you're not a better striker, obviously you can't even move. Miles Johns, beautiful striking. I thought that was a great fight. What else
It
was
was
there?
it was frustrating to wait for that knockout to happen, though. In a way, I mean, you have a
Yeah,
guy who's literally crippled in the octagon, and you're like, "Well, you just finish him," and he wouldn't put combinations together, which was driving me crazy. And after watching that fight, I had Dos Santos as the toughest guy I've ever seen in my life until I saw Ed Herman. So
yeah. These guys. There was a lot of people taking a lot of damage tonight, dude. There was people were tough as hell tonight. Melissa Gatto with a TKO win over Victoria Leonardo. That was a good fight as well. She got a TKO stoppage. It was actually a breakage that was and you said the other one was the first fight as well. So there has been a streak of breakages. Obviously the Conor McGregor, Chris Weidman, Jacare Souza. Every pay per view I think for the year has gotten a bone snappage, and one of the kicks I believe of Leonardo's opponent Gatto got through and broke her ulna. So she broke her ulna, and the doctor went in, felt that it was broken, and got the stoppage. And you said you didn't get to catch that fight.
no, so define for me the ulna. Which bone is that?
Forearm, one of your
Okay,
forearm
all
bone.
right,
Yeah. So
thanks,
I
man.
think she was blocking a kick. It was broken before, and she got it surgically repaired, and I guess it broke
Oh.
again. So unfortunate for her. She was losing that fight anyways, in my opinion. But good win for Melissa Gatto. Johnny Munoz getting the submission win over Jamie Simons, and I think that was it. Great fight overall. Now I want to play my favorite game. Before we get over here, guess the bonus. So I didn't take a look at the bonuses yet. I'm not sure if you got to take a look at them yet. Give me your fight of the night and give me your three performance awards.
Three fight of the night. I'm gonna go fight of the night is Vicente Luque over Michael Chiesa. And then fight bonuses. I'm gonna give Ciryl Gane a bonus for sure for outclassing Derrick Lewis the way he did. He's got to have a fight bonus. I'm gonna give another fight bonus to Ed Herman for having maybe being the toughest son of a bitch alive. And then I think the third one is tough. I don't know. I got to think on that for a minute. I'll just go 2 fight bonuses right now.
Okay,
I got to think about it. I got to think about it.
So my fight of the night, I'm going to take that main event or that feature prelim with Bobby Green
Oh,
and
okay.
Fiziev. I'm going to give that fight of the night. I'm going to give a performance of the night award for Gane. I'm going to give one to Luque. And I'm going to give one to Manel. No, Manel Cop can't get one. He missed weight.
Mm-hmm. He did. By 4 pounds in that division, it's like 20%.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. Like, you can't miss weight by 4 pounds in 125. That was like the last fight. The lady last week that missed weight by like 8 pounds. It's like maybe she thought she was fighting the weight up and she thought she was 2 pounds under. I don't know.
Maybe
I'll give it to Miles
I'll
Johns,
give
man.
I'm going to give mine to Jose Aldo for defying his not his age but his cage age. He's had about 100 fights. So I'm going to give my last one to Jose.
All right, so I'm pulling it up now. So fight of the night was Fiziev and Green, so I got that one right. Performance of the award for Ciryl Gane and Derrick Lewis, I got that right. You got that right as well, right?
Yep.
Did you give one to Vicente Luque? You gave that one fight of the night.
I gave that fight of the night, yeah.
Okay. But so I got a performance award, so it's still there. Oh, they gave it an extra one. So I got the Miles Johns one right, but they also gave that armbar a performance of the night award. So 4 performance of the night awards and a fight of the night award. I actually got all of mine right. I just missed one. Yeah, Ed Herman unfortunately did not get the performance award for getting his face bashed in.
Well,
Yeah,
that's just short-sightedness on the part of the UFC. I mean, you got to give a guy credit for something like that.
For the way for how long he's been doing this, man, since 2006, for him to still be doing it and just being there, absolutely great. Want to close out with some of these some of these comments and questions real quick. Dana White says John Jones not fighting until next year, 2022. Do you throw Francis Ngannou versus Gane maybe at the end of the year? Maybe not sure there. What's your thoughts on Gane versus Stipe?
You can't throw Gane in anytime soon because, as I was saying earlier in the show, his wife's going to have a baby and then he wants
Right,
to take a
right.
bunch of time off and then he's going to have to enter a camp. So Ciryl Gane is 2022 himself. So I think what we're looking at is a jockeying of positions, right? Who's going to get Francis Ngannou? Francis Ngannou is going to be ready end of the year. So does he wait for John Jones? Is John Jones not come to contract or whatever? So I think it's between those two. I think the UFC doesn't want Stipe to get a title shot right now.
Yeah, it would be really rough for me there, and I don't think they would even give him the interim. Like you
Mm-mm.
said, Gane is going to be waiting anyways, so Stipe doesn't want to be. Stipe was going to be like 43 if he continues waiting at this point. He's just going to continue to age out. So, not sure how that's going to
Right.
work there. UFC is kind of screwing Stipe, to be honest with you. They're
Yeah.
not doing him right. They're not doing him right. Any final thoughts on the entire card tonight, man, and anything overall?
No, just like a pleasant surprise for the card tonight, and really enjoyed it, and looking forward to. I mean, we've got a great bunch of fight cards coming up to take us through the fall and into the end of the year. So I'm look, man, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Nick Diaz is going to be fighting soon. Nick Diaz. So I mean, there's some fun stuff coming to the UFC. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of fights. There's doing great stuff there. I want to say shout out to my boy Chris. Great stream, guys. Love the content. I appreciate you joining me as always. My man. I appreciate everybody in the comments. Alex M always joining us as well. Obviously, my boy Chris. Who else was in here? I know I saw somebody else. Gabriel Torres, King of Rio. Shouting out Aldo. Appreciate you joining us as well. Elder Assassin was in early. Sergio De La Cruz. That was before the fight ended. So appreciate you guys coming in as well. Frank, dude, I appreciate you coming in and joining as well. Make sure you
Yeah.
guys follow Frank. His Twitter is still growing. You follow him at realfrank_Z. He's the real deal, right? He's the real deal out here. Of course, you can follow me at 3PieceCombo. And I appreciate everybody in the comments. Everybody's watching in the future. Make sure you guys like the video. Hit the like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. Make sure you're as well subscribed. Thank you guys for checking out the Three Piece Combo MMA show brought to you by the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Johnathan, aka Three Piece Combo, joined by my man Frank. I hope you guys enjoy the night, and we'll see you after the next fight.